Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how fantastic, I don't know, what do we got going on here?
Tcases
and FJ80 axles and all sorts of fun things going on. This is definitely the podcast for you. The mysterious Tcase mentioner over there next to me is a Mr. Jimmy Jett. If this is the first time listening to the podcast, then really there's only like 2 episodes you need to listen to. The 2 historical ones, I think, and then everything else you can just ignore. Like, don't even listen to this episode if this is your first one.
I was gonna say like episode, what was it, 3 and 4 when you interviewed me?
Yeah, that's the only ones I need to listen to.
Yeah,
got it.
Which is now on season 1 of Snail Trail 4x4 podcast.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on with that. I got confirmations from all the podcasting people that season 1 was accepted, but I can't find it anywhere.
Oh, really?
So I'm like, okay, we may need to like dig into that.
Yeah, I actually wanted to contact a few other podcasts because at least I use Google Podcast, and on my Google Podcast, there are a few podcasts that have over 300.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to see what they're doing.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's like now you're contacting these big name podcasters that have a bunch of podcasts and, you know, you're just a small fry asking a podcast question.
Right. So. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I know that there's a few out there, some of the bigger ones that are, 500, 700, 800 episodes in, something like that. And all of them are listed on their feed. So I don't know. We'll have to figure that out maybe. Let's see. What do we got going on today? This is a Thursday episode.
Yeah, it is, definitely. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we've had going for, probably the last 2 weeks, because we haven't done an update because we've been doing Moab
content.
Reminiscing, so about the last 2 weeks, and we've had a lot of stuff happening.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a few meetups. There's been an Ultra 4 race. There's been some work on rigs and trailers. And so we got all that to talk about here in a little bit. But we do have a little bit of housekeeping.
A little bit, tiny little bit.
To do beforehand. So.
Let's see. So the first thing is that we have a big giveaway going on this month.
We do indeed.
It is with Iron Man 4x4. Also known as 4x4, for those not in the know. See what I did there? No? Okay, no. That's fine. So Iron Man 4x4, they donated a 270-degree Delta Wing Pro awning. So it's a really cool thing. It comes off the passenger side of the vehicle. It's set up for the right side. It's pretty freaking nice. We'll talk a little bit about it here later in the episode. Definitely go check it out. It's about $1,200 retail value. If you want to get in for that giveaway, make sure you sign up. If you're not already signed up somewhere, you got to sign up over at irate4x4.com under the support donate tab at the top of the website. There'll be the options there to get into the Snail Trail 4x4 option. So you got to make sure you're under the giveaway tier.
Yes.
$10 a month. And that gets you an automatic entry into giveaways that we do and a bunch of other stuff. So
and we do a giveaway every month. Typically we do a giveaway every month for our Snail Squad and giveaway tier members, and those gift box ones members that you are not allowed to enter into right now.
Yep.
But next month we are going to do a few more giveaways as well.
We have a lot of giveaways coming up next month because what is next month, Jimmy?
Tool Month.
I'm excited. I love Tool Month. And we have so this Delta Wing awning from Iron Man 4x4 was our biggest value single giveaway. For a monthly giveaway? Did Joey DeSalt, when he won Tool Month, the first time we did it.
Yeah, we gave him a toolbox.
Yeah, I don't remember if he was the main month giveaway or was that part of something else?
Yeah, it was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, I don't remember now. But I think this is the single biggest item retail value we're doing.
Sounds about right.
We have a bigger retail value item coming up in Tool Month.
Yes, we do.
Which is going to be awesome. It's like $1,300, $1,400 single item.
I got to see it today.
You did? Oh, you got to take a look at it?
Uh-huh.
Isn't it gorgeous?
It's really nice.
Oh my God.
Really, really, really nice.
I told Gear Corey that I'm stealing the other one and he's going to have to fight me for it.
Okay. I think we're going to have a 3-way brawl.
Battle Royale. Oh man. So pay attention to Tool Month. If you are behind on listening to the show, you want to make sure you are staying up on all the episodes in Tool Month in June, starting June 6th. So we are doing one giveaway a week, 4 weeks in a row during June. And so you need to listen to the podcast in order to know what the details are, what you need to do to enter those giveaways. So make sure you are paying attention during June. It's the 1 month of the year you need to stay current this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I jumping a little ahead here. I met a listener at the Tacoma Powered Meetup.
Oh yeah,
and he said he's starting from the beginning, I think he's listening to consecutive ones, but also going back to the beginning and trying to catch up all completely.
Good luck.
Yeah, right. And I said, regardless of where you are, you're going to have to start. When we start June, you need to start listening to all those in June.
Yeah,
because you just have. Because so much is going to happen so fast in that month. So pay attention. We got some really fun things going on, some really cool stuff we're giving away. Thanks to Gear Wrench partnering up with them for Tool Month. Keep your ear holes open and ready to go for June. Let's see. So the next episode is going to be a really fun interview. Next episode is episode 300, Jimmy. I know. That's so crazy. 300,
man.
Yep.
I don't know how we got into this. What did we get ourselves into?
I'm blaming you.
That's okay. I'll take blame for now.
You started this.
Can I take the blame for ending it too? just kidding. Yes. We're not going to end it. Really fun interview coming up for you guys on Monday. So be prepared for that one as well. Let's see. We're getting into summer month, so there's a lot going on this summer. Keep your ear holes peeled for all the different events and activities this summer. Jimmy and I are going to be going out to quite a few of them. You'll have a chance to come out, and if you have some babies, bring them along. We'll shake some babies and kiss some hands.
I love that saying.
Me too. So cool, man. I think we're going to keep this kind of short and sweet. We do have a couple of reviews and a couple of voicemails, and then we'll get into kind of what's been happening over the past couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
So
let's do it.
All right. Let's start with voicemails.
Okay.
All right. So I haven't listened to these yet, but there's 3 voicemails today.
All from the same person?
2 of them are from the same person. We'll see how this goes. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go.
So I am pretty convinced there is no other podcast.
What?
They're pretty convinced that there's no other podcast.
I got it. Do you got it?
I got it.
Okay.
They're just not looking hard enough.
They're not looking hard enough. It's out there.
Do you know who that was?
Nope.
I have no idea either.
I just have a phone number. No name, no nothing. So keep looking. Keep looking. There's a podcast. There's another podcast out there somewhere.
There is.
That's all we can say about that. Next one. Kind of lengthy. And they called back. So
they hit the time limit.
I'm guessing they hit the time limit. Let's see how it goes.
Right. Hey, you guys, awesome podcast. Just listened to 297. And hey, I hate the term Jeep trails too.
Hey.
In fact, when I first got my 4Runner, my aunt calls me up and says, "Hey, you want to go? We should go Jeeping." And I'm like, I don't go Jeeping. And I got to thinking, well, what do I do? I guess I go, since I've got a 4Runner, I go 4Running. And I got a license plate that says 4Running. And Instagram handle 4Running SenCal. But yeah, Jeep trails, nah. Where's the Toyota trails? Where's the 4Running trails? That's what I want to know. All right, have a good one.
You know, I have a couple of comments about this.
Yeah.
First off, Jeep trails, another term for Jeep trails is just called bypasses. Just saying. Just saying, everybody. And then my other feedback, I wanted to say something while I was going, but in order to go Jeeping, quote unquote, there has to be a Starbucks involved. So that's the other thing. So
True.
yeah,
That's a good suggestion. That's actually a good bar. So if you're going, regardless of your rig, if you go Jeeping, you go to Starbucks.
yeah. If you're going to a Starbucks, you're going Jeeping, and if you're taking a Jeep trail, you're just going with the bypass. That's what it is.
To Starbucks.
To Starbucks. Oh man.
Right. Yeah.
that's
Why
funny.
not just call it an OHV trail or a trail,
Off-road trail or
off-road
4x4 trail,
4x4
something,
trail,
yeah.
or
There's so many other different terms that can be used. So, yeah, let's see. Same phone number called back, so
okay.
we'll see how this goes here.
Hey, I just realized, forgot to give you my name, Aaron Groh. But hey, another thing, I understand you guys have some more tokens, made up. I know a guy in Fresno who's more than happy to take one up into the Bald Mountain area for you. Took one to you in Pismo way back, so, you know, what the heck, I'll keep doing it.
Sweet.
Nice.
Either way, have a good one.
Nice.
His hiding spot in Pismo was great. Too.
It was really good.
It was really good. He like baling wired it behind a sign.
Yeah, on
one of the chain link fences. And I think Borhoff found it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a great hiding spot. Thanks for calling in. And yeah, we might take you up on that. Go hide some pucks out that way.
Yeah, the whole Bald Mountain area, that trail, like people say, oh, I went and did Bald Mountain. I'm like, which part of Bald Mountain? Because I don't think people realize how big of a trail that actually is.
Oh, really?
There's like 4 or 5 different ways to do that trail.
Oh, I had no idea.
Because it's essentially a giant loop, a big ring around the lookout up on top of Bald Mountain. And so there's different entrances you can come in from. Depending which entrance you come in from, you can go out different ways that are easier or harder to get to. And
so it's
there's
like
different
somebody saying that
obstacles.
they went to Met.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Yep. So man, cool. Well, Aaron, we'll have to hit you up once we get some more pucks made up here. We pretty much dropped off the rest that we had out in Moab.
I think I have 1 or 2.
Okay.
I think I was scrolling through my notes, and I don't know if I have notes of a geolocation that I don't know if you have.
Oh,
so
okay.
Let's chat a little bit afterwards and see.
Okay. Yeah,
we
cool.
have that one.
I was trying to not release tokens that we put in the same area until the one was found already in the area.
Yeah.
Then I would release the second one so that somebody couldn't go to an area and just collect all 5 of them.
Sure.
While they're there. But I was just like, don't want to have to take the time to track all of these and know when I launched them and when people have found them, blah, blah, blah. So I'm now just launching everything we have, and it's all out. Everything is over on the Snail Squad forum for irate 4x4.
Nice. Okay.
So
if once the snow melts, somebody can go grab a few right away.
exactly.
Except I think our leader is no longer. I don't think he's a Snail Squad member anymore.
He's gonna have to
the
wait.
The guy that was, I think leading collecting the most pucks. I don't know if he's a member anymore.
Oh, we'll have to check that out. Maybe he's not super current on the episodes.
Yeah,
and knows about the change yet. I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure. Or he signed up in May and we didn't look at it yet.
Yeah.
So
cool. So
I have noticed a lot of people signing up in May. So maybe people want the Ironman 4x4 Delta Wing awning, or they're just left Patreon and now officially signing up. So
maybe, yeah,
one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other. It's we'll get into that in a bit. I want to talk about it. So we have a couple reviews.
Okay,
so let's do some of those.
How many are we up to total?
Oh man!
Sorry, did I screw
You're gonna
you
make
up?
me lose our spot.
Well, let's do the reviews first, and then let's then you can scroll to the top.
Well, now I gotta go all the way back down to figure out where we were. Okay, so we have some reviews here. We're gonna read 3 or 4 of them today. The first one here is from Kupenstein.
What up, Kupenstein?
It says, great local wheeling podcast. I drive a JT, but I still love the show.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you're local, hit me up. I might need some JT snail armor love.
Oh, really? Did your other JT fall through?
No. But I would like to test it on a few different ones to make sure that patterns are the same.
Yeah, patterns are the same and the factory tolerances are correct.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So yeah, Kupenstein, hit up Jimmy over at SnailTrail4x4 on Instagram or Jimmy at SnailTrail4x4 on email or Jimmy at Snail Armor.
I don't have that email.
Oh, okay.
I need
everything
to do
just
that.
comes to the Snail 4x4.
Yeah, everything goes to Sid, or hit me up at Snail Armor on Instagram.
Gotcha. There you go. Cool. Let's see. Next one is from Aiden Crisp.
Hey, Aiden.
Says, entertaining podcast with helpful off-road info thrown in. Very entertaining podcast. I've enjoyed listening to the podcast ever since I found it last year during COVID. My son and I laugh at the bad jokes. So you hear that, Jimmy? Bad jokes?
Yeah, the ones that you say.
Oh, bummer. And enjoy listening to the podcast when we download them for our overland camping adventures off into the mountains. So
Awesome.
yeah.
That sounds like a good time.
And then the next one is from Crawl Duty.
What up, Crawl Duty?
Just for the winch. I'm writing this on my wife's account just for the odds. Awesome podcast. Keep it up, guys. From Crawl Duty.
That makes more sense that it would be a wife's name.
I don't get it.
A baby.
A baby?
She's on Crawl Duty.
Oh. Okay.
That or she crawls in a Super Duty.
That's what I was like. I don't know where you're going with this.
I thought she was watching. Her duty was to watch over the crawler.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, my mind was going somewhere else, and I'm not going to go there because I'll get hate mail. So, the last one we're going to do today is from Desert Bronco.
Ooh, hi, Desert Bronco.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if that person has a new Bronco.
New or old?
Yeah. Says great. It says, let's see, what do you say? Love the mountains now. Says, great podcast. I grew up off-roading in the deserts near San Diego and Imperial County.
Oh.
I always loved it, but felt like I needed to explore different trails. I was recommended the High Sierra 4x4 podcast, and I've been listening ever since. From Jeff and Greg to Jimmy and Tyler, I've enjoyed listening and learning about mountain trails, off-road radios, rock landing, because that was us.
Yep.
It technically wasn't us, but we're going to steal it anyways.
Yep.
Tools, the Rubicon, etc. Keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dang, he's been with us for a while.
Been listening for a long time. Yeah.
2 years.
God, 3.5. I think we were on High Sierra for 6 months
Something.
before coming over.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
I had somebody asking me out at the Tacoma Powered Meetup how we got started, and I told them about High Sierra 4x4, and they were like, oh, I'm listening to that podcast right now. I was like, what? It's still going? It's still out there? That's funny.
Still available.
Still available.
But no new episodes in
It's been a while.
Been a few years.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out
when we
when
stopped. I think they've released like 5.
Oh, really? That many? I thought it was just like 2 or 3.
Yeah. I was giving them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah. I'm still waiting to see if Greg's going to build his LJ or not.
Yeah. I don't know.
So I keep telling him, I was like, if you need some Dana 60s, hey, we got some sources.
He's not.
Oh, true. Yeah. He's going to ship it off he's going to ship it off to Jeff.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I keep telling him, I was like, hey, if you want to build your LJ, let's do it. Let's build it and have a good time. And I told him I have some Toyota axles coming off. I can donate for him in a little bit. So.
That'd be awesome.
And then he just kind of like laughed and rolled his eyes and walked away. I was like, where are you going? Yeah. So, those are all the reviews we're going to do today. That's reviews, voicemails, all the goodies from you guys. So we love the interactions. There's been some really cool conversations again over on iRate 4x4. So go check those out too. That's it. That's all we're going to do for Backhouse.
Sounds good.
Housekeeping. Thank you. That's what we're looking for. I have a magical way with words. So let's see. We have been up to no good.
Yeah, always.
As always. We have been trying to make repairs, but not really getting anywhere. I'm curious because I want to get into this a little bit and hear what other people with experience with Toyota transfer cases has.
Okay.
Because in my research, I was kind of told or found something. I was told one thing, told pretty much everything I was told kind of came down to the answer I went with. But your Tcase looks a little worse than mine does. So I want to know what listeners have to say. So let's dive into that.
Okay, you want to start there?
Yeah.
Start at the most recent thing, and we're
Tarantino in this.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll Tarantino it for sure. So while we were in Cruise Moab, I was hearing some noises in my crawl box.
Okay.
And
did you have a little gnome down there or an elf?
Something was going on. It was just making a whiny sound.
Okay.
And then it turned into sort of, and so that at some point I tried to not use my crawl box and I'd only use the 4.7 gear. So while we're out like putting along, I'm in third, fourth gear in the 4.7, to put along instead of being in like 2.2 in first or second gear. At some point I put it in, I used that gear and it sounded like there was some sort of metallic clicking or popping. And then I stopped using it, tried pretty much completely, unless I went to like an extremely low, like into low gearing, and then I used that case. So I got scared and didn't want to break down in Moab and figured let's make it through. And, so we came home and I took the T cases out. My buddy Dave came over. We pulled it out in like an hour. And then yesterday, actually,
your T cases are all put in. You put them all in with paper gaskets, right?
No, there was a paper gasket between the transmission and the crawl box, and then I think there's RTV. Well, there was RTV on the next two. Okay. So it was a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
To get them apart.
Yep.
I actually chipped part of I think it was the crawl box, like has this just like tongue, a little thing that pops out that you can tap against it to try to separate some things, and I broke it off. Oh no! Right by the detent thing.
Okay, yeah. So so in my pulling apart now the two T cases I've rebuilt, I've just take the butane torch or the propane torch and just melt all the RTV.
Smart.
and then just bang on it with a what are those called? The orange mallets that are softer. A dead blow. Thank you. Yeah. To beat on it with the dead blow until it kind of pops open.
Right. So I pulled it. So I took it apart because I called Marlin. I actually first talked to Trail Gear and I said, hey, if I order bearings from you guys, but I have a Marlin adapter. How would that work? And they said, I'm pretty sure our bearings are the same, but I can't guarantee that the tolerance are the same. So I don't know.
And the adapter plates. Yeah.
And so then I called Marlin and I said, hey, I want to rebuild my crawl boxes. I see you have a rebuild kit for the T case. Does that include the crawl box? And he's like, no, you have to buy those 4 individually. And I said, okay. So what about the bearings in the adapter plate? And he's like, well, we sell them, but not online because there's a few different versions of them. Yeah. And they have like ever so slightly different bearings in them, I guess.
Interesting.
And he's like, so we need to know which one you have. And at that point, I hadn't pulled the T case out yet. So I pulled the T case out now. I've taken a bunch of photos. I think my adapter plate is number 107.
Okay.
It has that stamped on it, 107. And then on the other side, it says like Marlin Crawler and a few different other numbers on there as well.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that one's the 107th one made or not. It does it doesn't have a lot of flutes for oil movement. It's pretty flat.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, everything looks good. Once I took it apart, the bearings on the adapter plate appear fine. The needle bearings on the inside of the crawl box look fine. They're all there. They're all in place. All the other bearings on the inside of the crawl box, I haven't dug into the T case, look good.
None of the bearings look like they were spun or anything?
Not really.
Interesting. No. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's encouraging.
So I'm going to clean it up. At this point, I'm halfway tempted to might as well rebuild it since it's here, and I don't know when the last time it's been, besides when it first got put together, if it's ever been touched. But everything's looking good. Yeah. So, but I sent out some photos in regards to the crawl box housing.
Yep.
It had
casing.
The case had a bunch of cracks.
Yeah. It looked just like a lot of stress fractures.
Yes.
Kind of thing. Stress cracks that were starting and getting, it looked fairly big.
There were some that were pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Like I was cleaning up the inside of the housing or that case with like a blue paper towel, and it was ripping.
Oh, gee, it was that bad.
The paper towel,
Okay.
it was catching on the edges of the cracks.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just wasn't like this little thing. There was some in there that were like
ripping the towel,
legitimately cracked to
Jeez.
some extent.
Yeah.
And that was the one that went from like the lower bearing and it goes all the way across the housing out to the outside of the case. But it doesn't go, it's not on the exterior, right? It's not cracked through.
Yeah.
But it's cracked like it has a visible line on the inside from the inside, one of the inner bearings all the way out to the edge.
Yeah.
So I sent the photos to you and Hussman and Dave, and you guys were like, "Yep, that's normal." I sent a few photos to Edwin, and what ABD 4475 Racing or something like that on Instagram, and he said, "Yep, that's normal." And I'm like, "Man, this thing just looks bad." So. Yeah, I think that's the question you wanted to ask and see if other people have had that experience as well.
Yeah, because I was also told, I kind of sent some pictures to some people when I was doing mine, because both of my T cases that I rebuilt had similar going on, but they weren't nearly that bad. Like looking at your pictures, I was like, man, that's double, triple as bad as what mine looked like. So I was like, man, I don't know. So I've been told everything's normal. It's normal on the inside of the casing to be like that. It's just kind of the aluminum, and as long as it's
part of
not
the forging process or something. Yeah,
and as long as it's not protruding to the exterior of the case, then you're good. And I'm like, all right, that sounds okay, but those look bad. So I don't know.
Yeah. Edwin said, "Looks like typical cast marks to me."
Okay.
And then I said, "Is it, should I address it? Is it stressed? Is it still good to run?" And he said, "Yeah, I'd run it. I wouldn't worry about it."
Okay.
I'm like, because some of them, like this one in particular, I'm showing you a photo. Maybe I'll put it up there online as well, as an audiogram or something. That one looks bad.
Yeah, like that one. Yeah. I mean, I get the idea, like the one above it right there by the little spot, the cracking there. It just looks like, a casting process when the outside exterior cools faster than the interior part of it. It'll crack like that, just because it's cooling and it's shrinking, right? But that one there's a couple there that are interesting.
Yeah, definitely are. And so, I guess the question really is, is it okay? Has anybody else that has torn apart T cases like this found some pretty gnarly cracking, the appearance of cracking, right?
Yeah.
In the casting or forging process of these housings, and is it okay? Is it good? Like, can I still run it, or should I be looking for another? Like how
bad can it look before you're like, man, I should be replacing this?
Yeah. And I guess to some extent it's the bearings in those holes on the reduction case, they slip in and out. I mean, they move, and they're designed to not be like pressed into that location.
They're held in by C-clips, yeah.
Yeah, C-clips and this little safety tab.
Yeah,
right?
Right.
And so I guess it's, like it can wobble around a little bit, but it's not structurally, like it's not a precision fitment.
Yeah.
So even if it is cracked, it's, it doesn't matter if it opens up more, to some extent.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, in regards to the noise I was hearing, I have no idea what it was. There was some pretty black fluid that came out. So maybe it was just time to change some fluid of it. Yeah, I changed the fluid not too long ago, but because it's such an old version of the adapter plate, the drain plug doesn't drain a certain section of oil, like down low. And so I think it just had some sludge kind of in there. Because it literally, like when I cracked the case, this other fluid came out, and there was literally like the clean new fluid and then the old nasty black fluid, and they wouldn't even mix. Like it was like different oils.
Yeah.
I found hard to believe, but yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'm curious what, hit me up and let me know what you guys think, if it's good to run. I'll throw maybe I'll throw an audiogram or a picture up on Instagram so you guys can talk about it.
Yeah, I think it'd be good to see the pictures because there's cracks due to casting, and just I think in the heating and cooling process it just happens. But then there's other cracks that this doesn't look like that one that you showed doesn't quite look like a casting crack.
No.
So I don't know.
And the fact that it feels like it's more of a crack than just like an appearance of a crack, because it's catching the paper towel and there's there's metal higher than other metal.
Yeah.
So but otherwise I don't know what the audio sound was that was, that I was hearing when I was wheeling. So I'm not sure.
So my T-case, when I blew up my bearings, it was whining really bad, like really loud. And it was also, I could tell there was a ton of resistance on it as well. Like in 4.7 first gear, the truck didn't want to go anywhere. Right. Like I had to apply gas in order to get it to go. So
yeah, that's not normal.
And that's definitely not normal. So it was, mine got progressively louder and louder and louder until it went. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna pop open the T-case anyway and just look at the bearings and gears and stuff and see how things look.
Yeah,
because I could get the crawl box to a point where I think it was hitting the housing. Like maybe it wasn't clearanced enough.
Okay,
but it's also to one of those, like, do the bearings actually move that way, or am I pulling them out of where they normally sit?
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah. So now my truck is sitting on the pad in front of the shop with no drivetrain in it at all for the most part, and a busted ass leaf string, and it's just chalked in place.
Yeah.
And I have to walk around it. So.
Oh man. So okay. So you got transfer case stuff you're figuring out. What else has been going on over the past couple weeks?
Well, we went to the Tacoma Powered Meetup, which was a lot of fun, and it was cool to be at and see people and talk to all the vendors and see a bunch of friends and meet new friends, and that was a lot of fun. But between coming home from Moab, fulfilling orders, and trying to get some panels done to take out to that event, man, that was a lot.
Yeah,
that came up quick.
Yep.
In the meantime, I bought a new blower for my laser.
Okay.
I don't know what CFM the stock version blows, but everybody suggests to buy this. The output of my laser is a 6-inch hose, 6-inch pipe or tube or whatever you want to call it. And so everybody suggests to buy this 6-inch inline blower that blows like 400 CFM.
Okay.
I'm like, ooh, okay. Somebody online on a forum I'm in suggested to upgrade for not a whole lot more. It's like $25 more to buy the 8-inch version that blows, that doubles the amount to 800 CFM. I'm like, that makes way more sense because now, and they run the same. When they are at full speed or at peak audio levels, they're the same. That's like 35 to 39 decibels.
Okay.
Right?
That's pretty quiet, actually.
Yeah, it's not bad. But my thought was, well, if I buy the big one and I run it at half speed, it's pushing the same amount of air roughly as the 6-inch one at full speed.
So they're variable speeds?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Or at least the one I got was.
Yeah.
I think most of them are. I bought even a downgraded version, same speed, but it just it doesn't come with an app, and it doesn't come with a humidity filter for checking the humid levels of your plants that you're growing and all this other stuff. And I was like, I don't need any of that crap. Yeah. So I just bought one that it's a manual on off instead of an app thing. So so I plugged all that in, got all that going, and it works. It works way better. No, not nearly as much smell in the shop. Yeah. So it's kind of nice. Good. And it has a so it's 8-inch tube to this like reduction 6-inch port that sucks from the machine. Okay. Right. So I think it's sort of like this small vacuum, it's like reduced, so it pulls more air through at that one point.
Yeah, it would. That creates a little bit of a bottleneck, which increases your pressure in that spot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that helps. One of the things I'm going to have to do is the front of, so I pulled the inline fan out that was there. I took that out of the equation completely.
Okay.
But the front in the machine, it has like an open area with a bunch of holes drilled in it.
Okay.
And everybody says go in there and cut that thing out completely so you can get even more airflow. I'm like, okay.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So, that was one of the things I did lately. I don't know. Am I missing something?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I haven't touched Samantha. And that's, I guess that's about all that for the most part, I've done on my end.
Okay. Did you get the exhaust manifold done on Clifford?
No, I haven't even the Clifford's been parked since I got home. I think my parents borrowed it to go get some hardwood floor for the house.
Gotcha.
And otherwise it's been parked.
Nice.
Yeah. It's, that'll probably happen once I can move Bobcat.
Gotcha.
So
what are you waiting for on Bobcat?
Now the Tcase is to be put back together. I mean, because I can drive Bobcat around on the yard. That's not a problem. It's flat enough. That's that I'm not concerned. After driving it out on a trail with that spring, I'm not concerned about driving it around in my yard with front wheel drive. But now I don't even have drive.
Yeah,
I thought about pushing it off, but then I was like, well, I don't really want to put the Tcases back up in the dirt.
Yeah,
I might as well leave it here.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I just need to, on my end, I need to rip apart the Tcase.
Just inspect it,
see if any, since it's out, and then see if I'm going to order parts from Marlin and get bearings in. And if I do, I'm like, well, then do I just order all the bearings and all the gaskets because it's out?
Well, you got it all out, yeah. Might as well.
Or just order one or two. So. So that's where I'm at with Bobcat. But my goal is to get it done in a matter of weeks because I think we have a wheeling trip coming up in, I don't know, mid-June. I have a wheeling trip.
Yeah, yours is a Father's Day weekend. So, you got a Rubicon Trip Father's Day weekend. I've got one the weekend before.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a really interesting trip, I think. We're essentially for my off-roading club, we do our annual all the way through the Rubicon.
Okay.
And it's an interesting trip because we go in Friday morning from the Loon Lake Spillway and go all the way to the Springs in one day. So that Saturday, we can just lounge around and people can do whatever they want. You can go swimming, you can go hiking, you can go wheeling, go play on Cadillac, or you can go wheeling, go play in Big Sluice. Or you can go down to Buck and go swimming for the day, then come back to the Springs. There's a lot of options once you're set up for camp in the Springs.
Right.
So we go all the way through. And, the past few years, we've been slowly gaining more and more people on this trip each year. Typically in the past, it's, our average number is 12 to 14 rigs.
Okay.
Last year, I think we had 19 rigs total that showed up and came on the trip. This year, we have 28 rigs signed up.
Holy cow.
And I'm in charge of it all. So I'm like, fuck, how do I get 28 rigs?
Multiple groups.
Yep. So that's what we're doing. I got some volunteers to help be quote unquote trail crew.
Yeah.
And we're going to split the 28 rigs into 5 different groups.
Oh, wow.
And so we'll have a fast group that wants to travel faster and knows the trail. So they've been here before. They know their lines through and they just can motor on and keep going.
Right.
And then the second group will be kind of the next pace down. And then the next pace down. The last group is going to be, the newbies the last 2 groups will be kind of the newbies who haven't seen the trail before, haven't been on, but their rigs are capable. So I'm screening all the rigs, making sure everyone has 35s and lockers front and rear and recovery points. I was like, as long as we have that, we should have
rock sliders
and rock sliders. I'm not screening for that, but I mean, if they want to dent up their doors so they can't get out, that's on them. But, I'm kind of like, as long as everybody has lockers, front and rear, 35s and recovery points, I'm very confident we can get everybody through the trail.
Oh yeah.
It's just a matter then of spotting and making sure people pick the right lines. So that's kind of the goal and, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. At that point, it's, if you're leading one of those groups, you're like, okay, I'm going to do the difficult line. You guys all should do this other line.
Well, see, that's for me, because I'm leading the last group.
Okay.
And so for me, I'm just going to take the easiest lines possible. Like that's the group. My goal is to just make it to the springs by 6 p.m. with everybody intact. So like, I'm just going to take the easiest lines possible to keep everybody moving. And they're just there to experience being on the trail rather than trying to, push their limits and see what they can do.
Yeah, if they want to push their limits, they can do it the next day.
Exactly. You can do it on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I've had to turn a couple people away, unfortunately, because I'm like, look, you haven't been on the trail before. You don't have a locker in the front. You're on 37s, which is, you'll probably be fine getting through the trail, but we've got 28 other people that we have to get through. And if you're holding everybody up, it's just not going to be any fun for you or anybody else.
Right.
And so they were very respectful of it. I was like, hey, look, we do other runs on the Rubicon throughout the year. Come on some of those. Like we do, we go through our Adopt a Trail section when we do that. And we go play around on the Wentworth Springs Loop. We do the Wentworth Springs Loop one time. We go out to Spider Lake and back one time. I was like, hey, those are great trips for you to get in, try out the trail, and see if you want to try and go all the way to the springs in one day. Because it's a long day.
It is a long day.
I don't think people truly fully understand how long of a trip that is when it's your first trip on the trail.
Yeah, it's only like 8 miles.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, you can hike it in like 3 to 4 hours, but to drive it takes like 8 to 12 hours, depending what's going on. So it'll be an interesting trip. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. That's the weekend before your trip. So I need to redo my whole suspension in Kermit, the rear, before that trip.
Right. So that I could put my suspension and everything back together before my trip.
Yep.
Yeah. And I just got notification. I'm still probably going to go on the trip, but it was, I was going for a specific person and I just got notification that person's not going on that trip anymore.
Oh.
And it's a group of guys that I don't know very well. And I was mainly going out for a friend that was coming into town.
Okay.
And now they're not coming. So I'm not quite, I was like, it's a Wednesday through Sunday trip.
Oh, that's a long trip.
Yeah. And so I'm not quite sure the logistics because I think Wednesday is maybe they're driving time and, so maybe they're doing only a weekend trip, but their game plan is 2 nights at the springs.
Gotcha.
And so maybe I'm going to do a 1 night, and wheel in with them, hang out, and then wheel out the next day.
That'd be a fun trip still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'd go all the way through at that point, but I don't know. I don't like that road out.
Yeah, the road out sucks. And it's about the same amount of time to go out Cadillac through Tahoe and back all the way down 50 as it is for you to go back through the trail, take Loon Lake, then Wentworth Springs over to Georgetown and come down 80.
Yeah.
So,
and I could probably travel a lot faster than some of them. And especially if I'm just like motoring out of there, and don't I don't really need to go through Little Sluice. You know, my goal is to just get out in an appropriate time.
Yeah. Yep. I think we timed it. Leaving Rubicon last year, my dad and I went up and out Cadillac, and then other people went back through the trail, and we beat them to the ice house turn off on 50 by like 40 minutes.
Oh, wow.
30 minutes time frame, something like that. So it was about the same amount of time either way.
Interesting.
It just depends what you want to do for the day. So anyways, got that trip coming up. So in order to go on that trip and have my rear suspension redone, I ordered up new leaf springs. I just got the same ones I had, the Pro Comp Chevy 63s, which after inspecting the brakes on the leaf springs that I did in Moab, I'm not very confident on running those again.
Yeah.
I think the springs were they were 100% already cracked. The 2 center ones were right, the centering pin.
Yep.
Before that, but the cracks look very round. They don't look like it was a stress crack and break at one time. It looks like it was almost a manufacturing issue. So
maybe when they drilled the holes, it cracked.
Maybe I don't know. It looks very like not something that would happen if you snapped a leaf spring, right?
Sure, right. Well, but for you, this is just a Band-Aid.
It is totally a Band-Aid. And I just need it. I need the rear suspension to last me another 2 years or so.
And how long did these last?
About 2.5 years.
Okay.
But I'm going to be doing some things to help remedy and make them last longer, because I will totally 100% admit I did not set up the rear suspension appropriately. I didn't put bump stops in it. I got a lot of axle wrap. The caster angle for the pinion angle was not correct. So I was very, very rough on those leaf springs. So I will 100% admit that. And that would probably play into how fast they broke in 2.5 years. So I'm going to be putting in bump stops when I redo this, and an anti-wrap bar. So I already have the bump stops. I've got the anti-wrap bar.
And are you going to put the shims in?
I'm going to put the shims back in to correct the caster angle at the same time, the pinion angle. And then I also have some shocks on order from Shock Surplus, just waiting for inventory. So
cool.
I don't think they're going to come in before the trip. So my rear, the Bilstein 5100s I have back there right now will work just fine. But I'm excited to play with the new shocks once I do get them and put them in. So the whole rear suspension is kind of getting refreshed. And then my goal is to keep that rear suspension the way it is, assuming it all works well, until the whole axle and front 3-link gets done for Kermit, and I get all that dialed in, which I think is going to take a year to 2 years, would be my guess.
Okay.
And then I got to decide whether I want to 3-link it in the rear, 4-link it, and relocate the gas tank, or do a cantilevered 4-link.
Yep.
So,
and still possibly relocate the gas tank.
Yeah, if I link the rear, I'm going to have to relocate the gas tank, no matter what I do. I would really, if I had my way, I would really like to do a trailing arm 4-link, which means I got to relocate the gas tank and relocate the batteries. So that's kind of something I got to think about after I get the axles and front suspension dialed in. So in terms of axles, I got in, I think, all the parts to put together my rear axle.
Right. That's awesome.
The only thing I'm missing really is the brake system, right? So the rotors and the calipers. And so I have the weld-on cups for the unit bearings. I have the unit bearings. I've got the axle housing. I have the axle shafts. And I have a complete third member with E-locker. And then the other third member is being built still. So the rear axle's pretty much ready to kind of get put together.
Cool.
Cut the WMS and everything to do it. I just have a bunch of other projects to work on before it is a higher priority.
Like what?
Like the trailer, redoing the rear suspension, and Gear Wrench Corey's front axle.
Yes.
So that one's been a lot of fun.
Now it's looking so good too.
I'm just impressed with the Rough Stuff housing in general. I'm really bummed that they're stopping making production on their housings.
Yeah. Why? What impressed you?
The how stout that center section is. They have it. So like I compared the center section of the 8-inch Rough Stuff housing to the 10.5-inch diamond housings I have. And so pretty much anytime you put a bend in metal, it increases the rigidity of the metal, right?
Yes.
And so Rough Stuff has like 12 bends in their front center section.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was like rounded.
It looks rounded. It's just because they bend it so much.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And then not only do they bend it a bunch, they have all these like ribs and bracings on the inside. And so like it's impressive how beefy that center section is.
Okay. Wow.
Or how stout it is. I don't want to say necessarily beefy, but how much it will be able to take abuse on the center section.
Sure.
And then the tubes are the same as the diamond. It's just, 3.5 inch, 3/8 wall DOM tubing for the tubes. So, setting up that housing, I was really, really concerned with cutting for the WMS.
Yeah.
Because most people who are smart and make custom axles, they just kind of figure out whatever their WMS is supposed to be and then cut wherever they want it to be. And then they measure how big their axle shafts are supposed to be and put in their order to Brannick or RCV or whoever for custom shafts.
And order custom shafts.
Custom shafts made according to however they cut their WMS.
Right.
We didn't do that.
No, you're doing it backwards.
We're doing it backwards. We ordered all the shafts and everything.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, we want this set up for FJ80 width is what we wanted, because Corey wants to be able to find aftermarket stock fitment parts.
Factory components. Yeah.
Factory fitment components. And so not necessarily factory components, but factory fitments. So everything, it's easier to find. You don't have to wait for custom stuff to be built, right?
Correct.
So that's what we wanted to do. And so I went on this big deep dive to try and figure out, well, what are you supposed to cut the tubes at for FJ80 stock width? Not out there.
No.
I can't find the information anywhere.
Wow. Okay.
And I looked for probably 2 weeks trying to find the information. I can't find it on none of the forum boards. The old Pirate forum board doesn't have it. I can't find it. Irate doesn't have it. I Hate Mud doesn't have it. T-Tora doesn't have it. I couldn't find it on Marlin Crawler, Rough Stuff. I couldn't find it under Diamond's website anywhere. And so finally, I called in a favor with Rough Stuff, and I was like, hey, Garrett, I need some info. Can you please help me out? He goes, yeah, what do you need? So they apparently, because they're not producing their housings anymore, he had to go dig up and find their axle housing book. Oh. They have a book for all the measurements of their production housings.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so he figured out what they cut for their measurements on all the parts. And so
would they would sell an axle pre-cut for a WMS originally? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep. So if you ask them, hey, I want an FJ80 with axle housing, they would cut it and send it to you.
Oh, cool.
Which is pretty cool. And they said they also would put in the balls if you want them, or whatever knuckles you wanted to run. They would put those in, set them up according to the caster angles you want, and ship it off to you.
Nice.
So they used to do all that. They don't do any of it anymore. I believe
mainly because it's time consuming for them.
It's really time consuming, and they just don't make any profit on it anymore due to labor costs. And so they shut down their whole axle housing production, but he was able to dig up their book.
Cool.
And so I got the measurements, and I was like, okay, cool. That's, there was this long. I forget now off the top of my head, 30 and a quarter, 27,
30,
whatever.
It was 30 and like a half, I think.
Going to the center point of the thing. So, but their measurements were done on the axle tube. So they cut the tube before they welded into the center section, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so their measurement is for the tube. And looking at the tube on the housing with it welded on the center section, the weld covers where the end of the tube is. So I'm like,
yeah,
I have about a 1/4 inch of tolerance here to figure this out. And I'm like, that's more than what I really want to have. And so I was like, okay, so I've got their measurement. I'm like, all right, let's take their measurement. And then I had all the parts. So I laid out a third member on the floor of my garage with the axle shafts in it, with the spindles and knuckles and everything else on it too. And I was like, okay, according to, and I kind of got it down to, I was like, okay, the kingpin axis is going to be right here. And so I would measure from the center of the diff to the kingpin axis. And that was going to tell me about where my WMS needs to be, the cut on the tubes. And so I was like, okay, so I've got that measurement now. And then I've got Rough Stuff's measurement. They're within about a 1/2 inch of each other.
Oh, yeah.
when I kind of measured it all out. And I was like, that's more tolerance than I'd like to have.
Yes.
I was like, theoretically, according to splines and, being able to have things splines and fitments of stuff, I have about a 1/2 inch tolerance to be within. And I was like, I want to be closer than that. I don't want to be right at my tolerance for my measurements. And so I called you up and I was like, hey, we actually have a front stock FJ80 housing over at the Snail Trail shop.
Yes, we do.
Let's take some measurements off it.
Yes, we did.
So we took measurements off those, and I got, I averaged them out, right?
Okay.
The 3 measurements, and they came to being within about a 1/4 inch of the average, right? And so I was like, cool, let's start here. I'll kind of cut a 1/2 inch longer than what my average came out to.
Smart.
That way, if we need to adjust it, I can trim it off and get it into wherever it needs to be, and cut the tubes. And after measuring like 50 times and marking everything out and saying, okay, definitely here's where we want to be, and cut it all down, put the knuckle on, and then measured fitments to the kingpin axis and everything. And it was a 1/2 inch off long.
Really?
And I was like, cool. Tape measures work. That's awesome.
If you know how to read them.
If you know how to read them, yeah. And so I cut the extra 1/2 inch off, and everything is, so far I have the long side all put together right now. And it's fitting up beautifully.
Cool. So was it a half? So you've only done the long side?
I've only put together the long side so far. I still have to do. Well, I've cut both sides, but I have the knuckle and the axle shaft and the spindle. Everything is fully assembled on the long side.
Got it. Okay. So it was a 1/2 inch off on the long side, which you planned.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it was a 1/2 inch side. I did all the cuts, the WMS cuts at the same time.
Right. So are you still a 1/2 inch plus on the short side?
No.
That you had planned for, or did you trim that too?
I trimmed that too.
Okay.
So once I figured that out, and I figured out how to do the measurement, put the ball on, measure it, and figure that all out to figure out I was 1/2 inch over, which is what I planned for. I did the same thing on the short side, and it was the exact same thing. It was a 1/2 inch over.
Sweet.
I was like,
that's awesome.
whew, I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah.
But putting the knuckleballs on was really interesting because we have a knuckleball here in the shop.
Yep.
And it was me snapping my knuckleball off, and Sherpa redoing it, that we learned that they're just kind of press fit into the axle, and not really like super pressed. They're just tight. So you have to hammer them in, hammer them out. And the way you get them in and out is you stick a tubing into the kingpin holes, the trunnion bearing holes, and then you hit it one way with a hammer and hit it the other way with the hammer, and keep going back and forth until you can pull it out of the axle tubing. So just doing that and putting it in, it's really actually pretty nice and easy, streamlined to correct your caster angles on Toyota axles.
Oh, interesting. Because you could rotate it.
Because you can rotate
because
it.
And tilt it.
That's your camber. You can't tilt them. Well, I guess you could, but you don't want to. Usually the camber is set up pretty good. The
camber's set.
Your caster is essentially the degrees of your steering knuckles of your arms, right? And so if you're running, most factory caster angles for on-road driving are about 0 to +1 degree. If you're running bigger tires, running a more positive caster angle will help your tires drive straight down the road easier. So, you know how your tires kind of center auto-correct in non-electric steering setups?
Yeah. Yeah.
So older vehicles, after you come out of a turn, they kind of auto-correct and go straight. That's your caster angle and your Ackerman angle, which is a combination of caster and other stuff. So, anyways, if you set up to about a 5 degree caster positive, then it helps your vehicle drive straight easier. It auto straightens the steering for you. So I set it up for...
But is that more tire wear?
No, not necessarily. Because you're essentially just rotating the knuckles, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So how did you set that up in regards to the pinion? How do you know what the pinion angle is supposed to be for his rig?
So I looked that up. He has a high pinion, and for Toyota pinions, typically you want about a 5 to 6 degrees to within 5 to 6 degrees of the angle of your output on your T-case.
Okay.
So, assuming most T-cases are about flat, 0 degrees, 90 degrees straight up and down, right? You take your pinion angle and make it about a 5 degree, 6 degree upwards. So what I did was I went and measured my pinion angle, not my pinion, technically my pinion angle. I went and measured my T-case output on my 4Runner and my pinion angle on the 4Runner, and then just matched that because I'm running a high pinion as well.
Right.
And when you're running a high pinion, it's not as big of a concern because you're not stressing out the U-joints as much. So, I just matched. I put about 5.5 degrees into the pinion angle, and 5 degrees, 4.5 to 5 degrees caster angle, positive caster.
Okay.
And set it up. So essentially I rotated the axle until the pinion was at 5.5 degrees, and then locked it down. Oh, if you're working on axles, awesome tool is locking plier chains. So it's essentially a vice grip with a chain on it.
Yeah.
And you can wrap the chain around whatever you're working on and then tighten and lock it down with the vice grip handles.
Oh, okay.
And so you just put the chain around whatever you are and then lock it, and it squeezes the chain, which if you have an axle on an axle stand, it tightens the axle to the axle stand. So you never have to have something supporting the pinion.
Right.
So the axle, kind of the axle and the chain holds the pinion up.
Got it. Okay.
So rotated it to the degree I wanted on the pinion angle, locked it down with that chain.
Yeah.
And then
what I used is I did a ratchet strap.
Mm-hmm.
So on the summoners that we have, the jack stands, there you have a handle.
Yeah.
And so I made sure the handle was on the inside, and then I connected the hook of a ratchet strap to the handle, went over the axle,
there you go,
back down to the handle, and then ratchet strapped it tight. And that more or less just put the tension on the top and holding it down to the jack.
Yep. And that's same concept as these. These are just, quick action. It's very easy to loosen them, rotate the axles I need to, and then tighten it back down.
Yeah. What did you tighten it to? I mean, you just wrapped around the axle and anything else?
The jack stand, the stands I built, the axle stands I built.
Oh, okay. So they had something protruding out of that you could clamp down to?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's essentially square tubing up off of $10 Harbor Freight dollies. So square tubing up off of it, 2-inch by 2-inch square tubing. And then the top has a section of 2x2 square inch tubing, maybe it's bigger, 3x3, whatever it is, cut in half, and then angle iron in it.
Oh, got it.
And so the angle iron's welded to the square tubing that's sitting like a tray, a trough.
Yep.
And so the axle just sits in
the angle iron, but what you wrapped around the axle and around the square tubing on the bottom.
The trough, yeah.
Yep. Got it. Cool.
And that's been working out awesome. It's held up anytime I'm moving it around the garage when I'm not using it, moving it around while I am using it, rotating the axle. Haven't had any issues. I just have one issue where, because people were saying if you don't have the stands connected to each other, then they won't move around. You can't, it's not stable. And it's been surprisingly stable. The only issue I have is there's a crack in my garage where the concrete slabs come together. And if I'm not hitting that crack with momentum, moving it around, I'm just kind of like just slowly rolling it and positioning, the wheels of the dollies get stuck in the crack and I have to adjust them then. But I'm really happy with how those stands are functioning now. So
what, did you have to level the axle at all?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, got all that worked out and, put on the Hellfire knuckles, which are a very, very awesome knuckle. I'm really impressed with just how easy those are to set up, but yet how strong they are. I was talking about beefy center sections, beefy knuckles, man. Those things are really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the big problem I have with Toyota knuckles is the shims to set up your trunnion bearing preloads and the axle centering, right? And they have the tolerances down so that you don't need any shims to set up the axle centering.
Okay. How? By just precision of manufacture?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So they set it up so you don't put shims in at all to set up your axle centering. And when I put it on, it was centered. I was like, wow, okay, cool.
Dang, that's awesome.
And then for the trunnion bearing preload, there's no shims. What it is there's a stud, for lack of a better term. It's just a chunk of metal that goes down into the trunnion bearing that's separate from the knuckle. Like it sits in a recess in the knuckle.
Okay.
And so the stud for the post spins in the trunnion bearing, but then the knuckle spins on the stud. And so the way you adjust the preload is there's like a little shelf that the post goes down into on the knuckle. And so you have then a big bolt on top of that post that tightens down and pushes that and thus the knuckle down into the trunnion bearing.
Or loosens if you go
or
the opposite
loosens
way.
it if you go the opposite way.
Cool.
So
so you can adjust the preload of the trunnion bearing by tightening a bolt.
Yep.
But how do you lock that down?
They have a locking nut on it.
No. Jeez.
Yeah. Genius. Right?
Yep. I mean, it's like they've thought of this before.
I know, right? I was very impressed because I struggled setting up the stupid shims when I did my 6-shooter knuckles.
Yeah.
It took me 5 hours or so to set them up properly. And this, I had the preload and everything set up with the knuckles in like 20 minutes per knuckle. I was really impressed.
You got to do a lot of measuring with the 6-shooter ones.
And then I was also very impressed with myself because I set up the preload by hand. And I was like, this feels about 20 pounds preload. And then I ordered up a fish scale off Amazon and tested it. I had one knuckle at 18.5 pounds, the other one at 17.5.
Wow.
I was like, dang, I was pretty close.
Not bad.
Yeah, I got those dialed in last night. And then I set up the spindle on and put the grease in, the axles, the inner axle seal, the grease, made sure that the burr fields were fully greased, and then shoved that in. So on the long side, is all set, ready to go. I just need to put the axle shaft in and grease and then spindle on the passenger side.
Wow.
And then once that's on, then I just need to put the rotors. Oh, we haven't got rotors yet, I don't think. So we need rotors. I need to put those on, but the hub assembly is all set, ready to go. So I just need to pack the bearings there, and then put that on, put the rotor on, and then it's all good to go. Hand it off to Stellarbuilt.
Nice.
So,
and then what's going to happen from there?
Gear Wrench Corey's going to take his 4Runner into Stellarbuilt. They're going to cut all the IFS stuff off, and they're going to do a 3-link on the front of his 4Runner, and then do a lift on the rear of the 4Runner.
Nice.
And they're setting it up for 37s.
Oh, perfect.
Yep.
That'll be great.
Yep. So he's got a 97 4Runner 3rd gen with the factory E-locker in the rear, which works great. And he'll have an Eaton E-locker high pinion in the front, solid axled on 37s. Pretty much ready to go. He's already got the rough stuff sliders that we did, that I was really impressed with those as well. And from there, it'll just be a matter of then getting him geared. So the Stellar's got to do the 529s in the rear axle, which we have. But there's nothing done with the transfer case yet. He wants to do dual cases. So that'll be the next project after.
Yeah. And that'll be a little bit of work too.
Yeah. So, that was the axle. And then other than the axle, I've been working on the trailer, trying to get that done for Overland Expo.
Yeah. Which you'll leave the day this episode comes out.
Yep. I still have no clue what I'm doing down there. I haven't made any plans. I've been trying to get caught up with work and dealing with the compressors coming in for more flight and everything. So,
have you been getting the emails from Nick?
No.
Oh. Did you get approved for media?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I know that I'm approved for media. I have that information of where I'm supposed to go. That's all my plan right now. I'm just like, I'm going to wake up Thursday morning, plug in that destination into my GPS and go.
So there's a Toyota Fireside Chat with Chief Engineer Mike Shear and media event at Overland Expo.
Oh.
I think you should go to that.
Yeah, that'd be great to know about.
It's a fireside chat for the Sequoia.
Oh, okay. Cool.
I'll forward this to you.
Yeah, thank you. That'd be great.
No problem.
So knowing that, I know Harry Wagner, our buddy, is going to be doing some talks. So I wanted to be there for one of his tire and traction talks.
Yeah, he's doing some driving training.
Yep. And then there's been a couple of other people I've been talking to meet up and at least say hi to down there and hopefully get a couple interviews with for the podcast. And that's all I got for Overland Expo. My big thing was I wanted to get the trailer done for Overland Expo because I'm going to be camping out at the grounds the whole time.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. I'd be, because when I went out there last time, we got a house.
Okay.
So I'd be, I'm curious how the camping will be and what you'll think of it.
Yeah, me too. I've got zero expectations right now.
Yeah, I was trying to explain it to you at the Tacoma meetup about how that whole area is, and it's just a massive amount of land. Okay, yeah. That's all around the fairgrounds. Mm-hmm. And so they just send you out into fields and say, camp over there, camp. I don't know if they direct people in certain areas or if you have medias in a certain area, but they have a lot of land out there that you're just allowed to, as far as I know, you're allowed to camp wherever and go hang out with whoever. Okay. They do have the media tent, which you should go and check out every day, because they have, usually in the morning, they had a sign that said at lunch, so-and-so is doing a talk. Okay. And a lot of times they would do, they had some really interesting talks and then gave some swag away, which was pretty fun. Okay. But then, I would say just have fun and roam. Do they give you anything to designate that you're media? Like your credentials of some sort? A pass. Okay. Yeah. Your entry tag says media on it, I think. Okay. So cool. I was thinking about taking my my King of the Hammers media vest
with me too, and wearing that around, just so it's like as I approach people, they're like, "Oh, you're just some stupid little podcast. Go away. I'm too busy."
Yeah,
I'm looking more official.
No, I think that there's. I mean, you're registered under media, but you have way more things going on than media.
Yeah.
And so I approached a lot of people and talked about possibly finding giveaway items and talking to some people about interviews and tried to line up some interviews and it's a good time, and what I expect when you come back is going, holy shit, more plate needs to be there next year.
Yeah.
And that's what I expect you to say.
Yeah.
And otherwise I think that there's so much going on, it's hard to do everything.
Yeah.
Even in the few days that you'll be there the whole time, but it's only a few days and they have way too much stuff going on all the time.
I was looking at somebody posted a schedule because they're doing a talk at some time, and I never got any kind of schedule about what's going on. And I was looking at it and I was like, holy crap. There's a lot going on.
There's stuff going on all the time in multiple different spots.
Yep. All right. So it'll be interesting.
I was almost roped into doing, forgot who it was. I think it was Metal Tech, was talking to me about being a judge in a food competition.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would have been totally rad. I had something else actually happening at that same time, so I wasn't able to do it. But it's just like you'll find yourself just being, you could do all these other things.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I could go to this driving training, or I could go drive a truck, or I could go, over to this talk, or I can go watch this food competition on Scottles or whatever. And, it's like there's just endless amount of things going on.
Interesting.
Also, I think the Trail Chasers are going to be out there. Might be
cool.
fun to go say hi to them again.
Yeah, I'll go have to hang out with those guys for a bit. I'm signed up for a booth at the Pacific Northwest for Morphlate.
Yeah.
And so I tried to get one here at Arizona as well, and they were like, oh, we're all sold out. And I got put on the wait list and never got contacted. So it'll be nice to kind of see what the expectations are going into the Pacific Northwest at the end of July, I believe is when it is. So
yeah, and that'll be the first one for that. So that'll be interesting. And I know a few people that it's funny because some of the people I know in Arizona aren't going to that one because it's too far.
Yeah.
And some of the people that I know, like in Northern California, they're not going to the Arizona one because it's too far.
PNW's closer now.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll be cool to see. I was talking a little bit with Ironman 4x4 and see if they were going to be there. And they said, no, they just have too many other things going on, but they're making a huge splash at the PNW one.
Oh, cool.
'Cause that's their back door, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be really fun to see what they do out of PNW as well. But yeah, for the trailer, my goal was to get the awning put on, the 270-degree Delta Wing awning from Ironman 4x4.
Yeah, that's exciting. Was it easy? How did it go?
It was very easy.
Do you already have tracks on your trailer?
I do. Yep.
Okay. And do they give you brackets that would be universal for most tracks?
Pretty much.
Cool.
I'm a little concerned about the U-bolt. So they give you a bracket that's essentially a big, it's half-inch plate, something like that. And it has a big vertical bracket that you mount to the side of the awning, the back side of the awning. And then off of that vertical bracket in the middle is a really long half-inch plate piece that comes off that you put on top of whatever roof rack braces. I don't know what the arms that go across your roof.
Yeah.
So this extension that comes out in the middle of the vertical plate is a horizontal plate that goes on top of those. Then you have U-bolts that U-bolts those arms to the bracket.
Got it.
And the U-bolts are tiny. Yeah. I mean, they're not that wide, right? So I would be concerned in terms of a universal fit as to having maybe a wider U-bolt option, or if they purposefully set it up that way for smaller racks that use smaller, tubing.
Yeah, is it like a 1 inch?
It's
sort of style.
It's almost like an inch and a half radius.
Okay, how big is the ones on your roof rack?
They're 2 inch by 1 inch square tubing. So 1.5 inches by 1 inch square tubing, whatever it is. But that's my cross beams. The cross beams, that's what I'm thinking of, on the roof rack for the trailer. And so it does. I had to essentially pound them on to get them.
Yeah. To make them wide enough to go around.
Yeah. So that would be my only concern is that if you have a wide roof rack, like it wouldn't fit on the 4Runner roof rack at all.
Yeah. And then so the U-bolts go up and then there's a bracket or something on the top that it holds it into place.
Yep. Or if you have a roof rack like a Prinsu or something on the top of your rig, or a Yakima, one of the Yakima racks, you could put the bracket underneath the rack and put the U-bolts through the top of the rack and bolt the brackets to the bottom of your rack. But I don't have a rack. I just have cross beams.
Right.
So I had to put it on top of the cross beams. But I was very impressed. It got up there. Definitely you need 2 people to put it up because it's heavy and you have to bolt it on. It's just awkward once you're.
So did you get the secretary out there helping you lift? Nice. Yep. Okay.
So I lifted and held it up there while she got up on the fender of the trailer and got the nuts started to the bolts.
Okay.
So
I was going to say I was about to say that it's definitely doable by you and your spouse.
Yes.
Lifting, but it sounds like you did the lifting and she did the tightening. Okay.
Yep. But yeah, it got on and I haven't gotten it fully extended out on the trailer yet.
Bat wing out yet?
I haven't put the bat wing out because I've got a cherry tree right there.
I was hoping you were going to bring it today. You were talking about it.
I really wanted to bring it out today, but I had a bunch of errands I had to run this morning. Kind of emergency stuff. So I was like, I don't want to drag it all the way around town.
Don't blame you.
But anyways, I got it. I got to, pull it all out though in my driveway before I set it all up, and it looks good. It looks great, and it fits well, really, really well in the trailer.
Sweet. How's the length of the awning versus the length of your trailer?
It's a perfect fit.
Yeah?
Yep.
That's cool.
Literally perfect fit. So I think the awning is 7 feet tall, 7 feet long, something like that. And my trailer's 8 feet long. So it came out really nice.
Also, I'm curious about you might want to open it before you go to on your road trip, because I don't know if you need to push the awning backwards to for the hinge to go around the backside.
I planned that, yeah.
Okay.
So I already have it set up for the hinge to go around the backside, and it's set up with about an inch gap, maybe half-inch gap, and I'm hoping that's enough. It looks like it does according to how the hinge works.
Do they tell you in like some sort of instructions about how to adjust for that?
No.
Okay.
My only concern is that because it's off of the rack and the rack is like even with the side of the trailer, there's about an 1.5 to 2 inch gap between the side of the trailer and the awning. So if it's raining,
you're going to have something.
I'm going to have water coming down for that 2 inch gap right along the wall of the trailer, which is how you get in and out of the trailer, right?
Sure.
So there's going to be, if it's raining hard, there's going to be a sheet of water coming down. So I got to figure out how to eliminate that. Which I don't think it'll be too bad because the awning has like a tracks that you slide bolts into, right? So that's how you connect it to the bracket. So I think I can just slide some bolts in and then create a little drip shelf off of the backside of the awning.
Is the awning higher than the roof line of your...
Yes.
Because of your cross beams?
Yeah. So I'll have to play around with that. I don't have to worry about it this year. I don't think I'm going to deal with any rain until the end of the year, but I did that.
Maybe in PNW.
Yeah, maybe. So I did that, and then I finished the shelf in the rear door. So I got all that set up.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw a video of that. So you made it so that the shelf folds down.
Unintentionally. That was an unintended consequence, but I went to take it off and it like slipped out of my hand and just folded down. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I still can't close the door with the shelf folded down.
Oh, it's too tight.
It'd be too tight. Yeah. But anyways, so the shelf comes completely off and stores in the top of one of the drawers, and it fits perfectly for the stove, the stovetop. The trailer is pretty much all set to go for that shelf.
Did you get a stove?
I just have my propane one.
Okay.
So I was thinking about diving into this conversation, but I think it's going to take a long time to dive into it if we did.
Okay.
But
so you didn't get a stove yet?
I haven't got an electric burner yet, an electric stove top.
Okay.
But because I dove down a very deep rabbit hole of induction versus electric coils and which one is more efficient. And anyways, it's a big rabbit hole. It's an interesting conversation that I wanted to bring up on the podcast at some point.
Okay. Yeah. That'll be a good one.
So anyways, this trip will be done with the propane stove. But I did get new pots and pans. They're stoneware.
Okay.
So, they're essentially,
is there a benefit for that?
They're non-stick without a non-stick coating.
Oh.
So you can use metal utensils in them. You can scrub them clean if you really need to, but like all my stoneware pans that I have at home, they clean up super, super easily.
Oh, cool.
So in theory, I should be able to clean all these just by wiping them down with a hippie bath cloths. So I got those. They're all set up, ready to go. Let's see. The other thing I wanted to do was get the lithium battery set up in there, the solar up on top, and get the solar charger and all the solar set up, right? The power system.
Sure.
Not going to get it done.
No?
No.
Okay. Just bring in the Jackery again?
Just bring in the Jackery for now, yeah. One annoying thing I just learned about the Jackery, I didn't realize until semi-recently, is that the input power of the Jackery, they have a limiter built into the Jackery.
Okay.
So the 550 watt Jackery can only accept about 100 watts of input at a time.
Got it. Okay.
So it doesn't matter whether you have it hooked up to a wall, on the solar panel, solar charger of some kind. If your solar panel is 250 watts, it's only going to accept 100 watts.
Interesting.
And there's a power efficiency ratio thing there too. So really, I found the max input is about 80 to 85 watts. So if you drain the Jackery in one night because you're running an electric blanket or something, it's going to take a minimum of about 8.5 to 9 hours of sunlight to refill the Jackery. And they limit it at that. And I'm like, that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Because that could be in the winter months, that's more than you have daylight available.
Yes.
So,
and if depending on where you're camping, usually people want to park in the shade.
Mm-hmm.
You might have downhill shade and not be able to go full recovery.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, well, the Jackery is not a long-term solution if you want a full electric trailer to go off grid with. So I'm putting in a 200 amp hour lithium ion battery with a 375 watt solar panel hard mounted to the top, and then I will keep my 100 watt solar panel available to kind of move around as needed.
Got it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So, that should power everyeverything I ever want.
So you're still going to bring this time you're bringing your Jackery and the portable solar panel.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'll just lay the portable solar panel out on the roof while I'm there.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't think I'll need the heated blanket at night. So probably not. It's going to be a low of 42 degrees and a high of 75. So it should be gorgeous out there the whole time this weekend. But yeah, that's the trailer. And that's kind of where it's at. And so after we come back, the next step after I do the rear suspension on the 4Runner will be to get the power system installed.
Cool.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
And then you're going to drag the trailer to Rubicon Springs?
No. I thought about taking it to the spillway and leaving it at the spillway so I have something to sleep in Thursday night rather than unpacking the tent and having to pack it all up at 5 a.m. to go on the trail. But I'm like, I don't want to leave the trailer at the spillway by itself.
Yeah, sure.
Even with a trailer lock on there.
Yeah.
People have power tools there. So, I'm excited to kind of get that set up and ready to go. And I started thinking about it. I was laying in the trailer last night because just kind of getting, we set up curtains.
You got kicked out of the house?
I did. We set up curtains in there.
Oh, cool.
And so I was laying in there and I was like, the secretary just got like a little portable monitor that's designed to be set up and attached to laptops or tablets for remote working.
I saw it in Moab.
Oh yeah,
that's
that
cool.
one. It's a really neat little thing. It's super thin. It's like quarter inch thick.
Yeah,
like it's
super thin.
Super thin. And I was like, we could get one of those, a 15-inch one for those, mount it up on the wall in here, and then have a built-in, movie system.
Yeah.
And if
you have good enough internet, you can connect to your what's it called?
Netflix or
your server, the
Plex server.
Your Plex server.
Yeah, and stream just out in the middle of nowhere if we get like a Wii Boost or something.
Yeah.
So I was like just laying in there and I was like, man, there's so many, once the power system is set up in here, there's gonna be a lot of different things we can do options.
Yeah.
So Anyways, that's all I got going on.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yep.
That's a lot.
Yeah. The Gear Wrench Corey's axle is almost done.
That's exciting.
I'm really impressed with how it's turning out. The trailer is almost quote unquote done. At least for the quote unquote initial build of where we want to use it at. That's coming along really well. I'm happy with how that's turning out. And the 4Runner is just sitting in the driveway getting neglected. But that should start moving here soon once other projects get done. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting news. I think in the near future, I'm hoping to have button together Bobcat, you know, and get those leaf springs back. And then you are going to finish the 4Runner and finish the trailer. And then we'll have a good wheeling summer ahead of us.
Yep.
As long as we can.
Yep. I agree. I did order up. I found out you can run aluminum rod off of the Premier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think CJ with the CJ was talking about that, wasn't he?
Yeah, and so they make aluminum rod for DC welding. Typically, aluminum is always AC welding.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and so they make an aluminum rod 4043.
Do you just hold the rod backwards?
Yep, you just hold it upside down. You have to put an arrow. You have to draw an arrow on it so it's directional.
Got it.
They make a DC rod, and so I ordered up 2 pounds of 4043, and then I also ordered up 5 pounds of missile rod.
Oh.
So now I'll carry on the trail. I'm going to get rid of my 7014 because I haven't used it yet. It's kind of like an in-between 6011 and 7018. And I'm like, if I'm carrying 6011 and 7018...
Yeah, why do you need the in-between?
I don't need the in-between. So I'm going to carry 6011 on the trail, which is for dirty welding, right? If you just really can't get something clean, like an oil pan or a differential or something oily. Yeah. 7018, which is high carbon, kind of the workhorse. It works on a lot of different stuff. I'm going to carry aluminum rod. And then I will also carry missile rod specifically for leaf springs now. Yeah.
Just safety.
Yeah. But that was one thing that I really learned from the Moab trip is how versatile the Premier is.
Yeah. That was really cool.
Looking into it, when we were going through Welding Month and interviewing everybody, I was like, man, I really wanted to get a Carnage. I've got a Premier. I've got a Bun Trail Welder that plugs into the Premier. But I was like, what if my alternator goes down? Or if something happens and I can't use the Premier for whatever reason?
Sure.
It'd be really nice to have the Carnage as kind of a standalone backup. And I was like, I don't really see any faults with the Carnage at all.
Heavy.
Except... it has a 20-minute runtime. And as much as I was welding, we would have been fucked if all we had was the Carnage. So that's just the big eye-opener is and the Carnage can't really keep together leaf springs that well. It's just mild steel. It's not a high carbon steel in the spools.
Unless you have an appropriate spool.
Exactly. You need the appropriate spool. And I don't know if they make them.
I'm not sure if they do.
For leaf springs, spring steel. So, I was just thinking about that the other day and I was like, we wouldn't have been able to use a Carnage in that situation. So, or a Bun. And I was like, that right there is the real benefit in the Premier is the versatility like John harps about.
Absolutely.
And the runtime. You can run it as long as you've got gas in your vehicle or gas available that you can steal from other people's vehicles.
Yep. Yeah. Is there a duty cycle on the Premier?
No, not that I know of. You definitely I try and shut it off in between rods. So just try and shut it off, let it cool down, let it reduce power and keep your batteries charged in your vehicle.
Right.
So I'll cycle it on and off while I'm switching out rods and cleaning up a weld, breaking off the flux and cleaning the weld to see how it was and so getting out a new rod and everything. So I would say how I use them, I use them probably 30 to 40% duty cycle.
Right.
I don't know. So
maybe. Cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to say one thing if that's completely off topic. If you have anything,
we like
else,
off topic stuff.
If
I'm
you
done,
had
man.
Something else you wanted to say? You're done. I went to Coldplay on Sunday.
Oh yeah, how was that?
So freaking good.
Was it really good?
It was so good. And what was really cool about the concert's fun. Coldplay's been around forever and a day. They have all kinds of great songs. They have just songs from like 20 years ago that are still fun.
Yeah.
Right. But what they did was they gave us these bracelets.
Okay.
Gave everybody that attended this bracelet.
Okay.
And at first I'm like, what is this thing? And there's signs like wear your bracelet, put your bracelet on, and I'm not quite sure the logistics of how they did it, but somehow the bracelets were synced to the music. And they would all blink or flash and do different colors
for the crowd,
for the entire crowd.
That's
right.
pretty
and
cool.
So sometimes it was, and it had RGB in it. And so, sometimes they're blinking blue, sometimes they're blinking pink, sometimes they're blinking yellow, sometimes the entire crowd is blinking red, or all of them are on and white and lighting up the entire crowd.
Wow.
It was really cool.
That's a really cool idea.
Yeah. And it was fun because you actually, I wasn't there I felt like I was a part of the show.
Yeah.
Right. Because
you're not just an attendee watching.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because now the crowd is somewhat participating and is somewhat a part of the light show, and it's like I had the people across from me looking at my direction and seeing the lights that are, going on. And the light show that happened was awesome.
That's really cool.
It was really neat.
Okay.
And it was I just think that, technology these days are growing so fast that something like this, is enhancing concerts, and I can only imagine where this technology might go from here, And another thing that was kind of cool is at the very beginning of the show before Coldplay came out, I think it's H.E.R, who's an amazing black guitarist and singer, came out first, was the opener. And then before Coldplay came out, they did this video, and they said that they charge all the bracelets and do everything that in regards to the bracelets and some of the lighting features are all solar charged.
Oh, nice.
And so somehow between their shows, they're charging all these things up.
Wow.
And, figuring out it's all green energy and stuff.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool to, see that, but just, man, the way that it changed the whole overall visual experience was really cool. It's like back in the day when everybody held lighters up or their cell phones with the lights up, but now it's everybody's doing it all the time, and the band is able to control what lights are going.
Yeah.
So sometimes some of them are blinking blue and some of them are blinking red, and you could see this different colors, It was just really cool.
That'd be really neat.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's always fascinating, in my opinion, the way people use technology and adapt technology to different uses.
Absolutely.
And so something like that would be absolutely fascinating. I want to know the infrastructure behind it. I want to dig into.
I was interested in that. Didn't want to dive into it, but I don't know if they're all Wi-Fi'd or if they're all. I can't believe they would be programmed, because what if they? Because at some point in the concert, he stopped. He literally stopped the concert. And because the concert was supposed to be 2 weeks prior.
Okay.
And he apologized. He said, sorry, logistics were crazy, just everything going on in the world, blah, 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 blah. And I can't imagine that was scripted.
Yeah. To the program of the lights.
To the program of whatever the bracelet is.
Yeah.
Right. So it's got to be some sort of Bluetooth or some sort of Wi-Fi and, all connected in the hub with the music running into it. And then they know, but I also, in regards to that, I don't know if they're randomly handed, they're randomly handed out, but does then the device know where you're located we were in Levi Stadium where the 49ers play.
That's interesting.
Because if they wanted a certain grid to flash green.
Yeah, how do you know that person is actually sitting there? Yeah. That you handed it to.
Right. And so I think they have to know where they're located in the stadium, because they did have times when the floor was flashing one color and the seats were flashing other colors. So they have to know that too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I want to know the logistics and the structure behind all that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Nice.
So.
Well, cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was at the conclusion of my weekend of hell, where I had everything going on. Yeah. I had a weekend where it was just family things were overlapping. And there was a time when the assistant had a dance recital the same time that the mini assistant had a theater play. Yeah. And the assistant's sister-in-law came down with COVID, and the assistant's dad was supposed to stay at their house, but now we are also house sitting. Yeah. Or not house sitting, we're what do you call it? We're watching. We have people staying at our house.
Yeah.
So it's like not only do we have all these places to go, but now we're also hosting.
Yeah.
Now we're also hosting people in the mix of this crazy day. So it was really, really nice to like just the assistant and I to get away at the end of the weekend and go to a concert.
It's a prize for yourself for getting through.
For making it.
Yeah.
So that was a busy weekend.
Nice. Sounds good, man.
Yep.
So if you guys are down at Overland Expo, find me, say hi, message me on Instagram. You can do that at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. You can call the Morflate business line. I'll have the Morflate phone on me. Actually, I don't know if I will because I'll be outside of business hours. So we'll see. But you can message me on Instagram and let's meet up, say hi, shake some babies, kiss some hands.
Sounds good.
Cool, man. If you guys want to call, leave us a voicemail. You can do that at 916-345-4744, especially if you want to talk about how you hate Jeep trails. Oh, it's funny. Jimmy, do you have any final words for everybody?
Let's see. Check your shit.
And with that, my friends, keep crawling. Yes, sir.
I got one for you.
Jokies.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Why did the teddy bear say no to dessert?
Because he was stuffed?
Yep.
Come on, baby.
Nice
I think
job.
that's the first one in 298 episodes. 299, whatever we're at.
Nah, I think you've had one or two before then.
Percentages are good. Like 1%.
Yeah.
I'm rolling, man.
Not bad.